I never thought it would hit me that hard. But it did. And it didn't happen suddenly. It crept in, slowly, like a shadow stretching over my life the moment I turned 60. At first, it was little things. I'd sit in the same chair every morning, coffee in hand, staring out the window a little longer than usual. My phone rang less. The days felt quieter, not peaceful, just emptier. I told myself it was normal, just aging, nothing to worry about. But deep inside, something had shifted. There's this thing no one warns you about when you hit 60. Everyone talks about retirement, travel, grandkids. The silver years, they call it. But no one tells you that you might wake up one day and wonder, what happened to the person I used to be? I regret that I didn't notice sooner, that I didn't fight it, that I let myself fade, bit by bit, in ways that didn't make headlines, but carved away at who I was. I don't regret turning 60. I regret how I lived after I did. Maybe you're feeling something similar right now. Maybe not openly, but in the small, quiet moments. When you pause while brushing your teeth and feel a strange heaviness you can't explain. Or when you forget why you walked into a room. Or when a friend stops calling and it takes you weeks to notice. That's why I'm telling you this. Because there are things I wish someone had told me earlier. Things I wish I had done differently. And if even one of them reaches you in time, then this moment right here will have mattered. The first thing I regret was waiting. I waited to feel better. I waited for someone to reach out. I waited for energy to return, for purpose to knock on my door. And while I waited, my world grew smaller. My confidence dimmed. My body started moving slower. But worse, so did my mind. There's something dangerous about waiting. It fools you. It tells you you're resting, healing, recharging. But really, you're drifting. And here's the truth. No one is coming to save you from that. No doctor, no family member, no inspirational quote on Facebook. If you want to feel alive again, you have to move first. I started walking again, not for exercise, for rebellion. Rebellion against the part of me that said, just rest. I'd walk 10 minutes in the morning, sometimes barely dressed, barely awake. But I walked. I moved. I reminded my body it still had a job. I started writing down 3 things every night. Not fancy things. Just, I made soup. I called Michael. I heard a bird sing outside the kitchen. It doesn't seem like much, but it reminded me that life was happening. Still, quietly. The second thing I regret was losing my voice. Not literally, of course. But I stopped expressing myself. I stopped sharing opinions, stopped asking questions, stopped challenging anything. I became agreeable. Too agreeable. And do you know what happens when you're always agreeable after 60? People stop hearing you. When you stop asserting your thoughts, your dreams, your concerns. You disappear in plain sight. I regret every time I said, I'm fine, when I wasn't. Every time I said, whatever you think is best, when deep down I wanted something different. I regret not saying no when I should have. I regret not saying yes when I was scared. You don't stop having a voice at 60. You just start believing no one wants to hear it. But that's a lie. I started speaking again. To my kids, to my neighbors, even to strangers. I started commenting online, joining community chats, asking bold questions. I started saying things like, I'm not okay with that. I've lived a lot, and here's what I've learned. This matters to me. And slowly, the world started listening. Or maybe I just started showing up louder. The third thing I regret was thinking small. Somewhere between 60 and 62, I stopped dreaming. I stopped making plans. Everything became about maintenance. Take your pills, pay the bills, keep the house clean, stay safe. But you know what? Playing small is just another form of dying slowly. I regret not learning to play piano, not taking that road trip, not writing the book I always talked about. I regret every time I said, I'm too old for that now. Because I wasn't. And I'm not. Neither are you. I met a woman named Carol at a community center last year. She was 73 when she started her podcast about aging boldly. No studio, no budget, just her voice, her stories, and the courage to speak. She has 200,000 subscribers now. Why? Because people don't need perfection. They need permission. And Carol gave it to them. I regret not giving that same permission to myself. So I did something radical. I made a vision board. Sounds silly, right? But I printed pictures, wrote goals, pasted memories and dreams and ideas. Things I thought I had outgrown. And I stared at it every morning. Within 3 months, I had enrolled in a photography class, signed up for a dance group, and booked a trip I had postponed for a decade. Was I scared? Hell yes. Was it worth it? More than you'll ever know. And that's what I want for you. Not to look back and say, I wish I had, but to look ahead and say, I can still. Now, there are more things I want to tell you. More regrets. More lessons that I've carried like quiet weights in my chest. But if anything I've said so far made your chest tighten a little, if any of it sounded familiar, then please don't just nod and scroll away. Leave a comment. Say, this hit me. Say, that's me. Or just say, I'm still here. Because saying it out loud is the first step toward coming back to life. And I promise you, there is life left. Beautiful, messy, wild, joyful life. You just have to stop waiting for it. The fourth thing I regret was shrinking my circle. Not all at once. It started slowly. Someone moved away. Someone else stopped calling. Another passed on. And before I knew it, my world had gone from dinner tables full of laughter to empty chairs and long silences. Here's the truth no one tells you. Loneliness doesn't always feel like sadness. Sometimes, it just feels like numbness. You stop reaching out. You tell yourself people are busy. You convince yourself that solitude is peace. But deep down, you're just trying not to feel forgotten. I regret not fighting harder to stay connected. I regret not inviting people over, even when the house wasn't perfect. I regret the birthdays I didn't call for, the invitations I ignored, the chances I missed to say, I've been thinking about you. There was a moment, around 64, when I realized I hadn't hugged anyone in weeks. I hadn't laughed out loud in even longer. That realization broke something open in me. So I started small. I texted my niece. I joined a local gardening club. I showed up at a community potluck and brought cookies from a box. Nothing special. But someone smiled and asked my name. That was all it took. You don't need dozens of people. You need a few good ones. The kind of people who remember your stories, who check in when you disappear for a while, who sit in silence with you when words feel heavy. And if you don't have them now, it's not too late to build them. You're not invisible. You're needed. The fifth regret was underestimating my body. I spent too many years thinking movement was about exercise, about looking good, staying slim. But after 60, it's about something much deeper. Freedom. The day you lose your ability to get up off the floor on your own is the day you realize how much independence lives in your muscles. I regret not stretching every morning. I regret ignoring the stiffness, brushing it off as normal. I regret sitting for hours, days, years, slowly letting my joints lock up and my strength fade. I thought I was resting. I was rusting. So I made a new promise to my body. I started stretching for 5 minutes a day. Just 5. Neck rolls, shoulder circles, gentle bends. Didn't feel like much at first. But then, I started standing taller. I breathed deeper. I walked further. My body didn't betray me. I betrayed it. By neglect, not malice. And yet, it forgave me. It responded. It came back to life. There is so much power in your bones. So much vitality still hidden in your blood and breath. Don't wait until you fall to realize how much you've lost. Strength is a choice. One that starts with just a little motion. The sixth regret was letting go of curiosity. Somewhere between routine checkups and pill reminders, I stopped being fascinated by the world. I stopped asking why. I stopped reading new things, stopped learning. And slowly, my world got smaller. Not because it had to, but because I allowed it. I regret not asking more questions. I regret not listening to podcasts, not exploring new music, not learning how to use the damn phone properly. I regret every time I said, "I'm too old for that," instead of saying, "Teach me." Do you know what keeps you young? Wonder. Wonder is what keeps your neurons firing, your heart beating with interest, your days feeling alive. So I started reading again, not just old favorites. I picked up new authors, listened to TED Talks, joined an online course on ancient history. Because why not? The more I fed my curiosity, the more alive I felt. I became that old man who always had a fact, a story, a weird question at the dinner table. And suddenly, people leaned in when I spoke again. Not because I had the loudest voice, but because I had something alive inside me. You don't need to travel the world to stay curious. Sometimes, all it takes is changing your answer from "I can't" to "why not?" And here's the thing, I still have more regrets. But what I've learned is that regret can be a map. If you look at it closely, it tells you where you stopped growing, where you paused your life and waited too long to start again. And if you're hearing this now, it means your time hasn't run out. It means you still have the chance to rewrite the ending. So don't let this be just another story you hear and forget. Let it be the moment you decide to reach out to someone, to move your body with intention, to say what you've been holding back, to try something you've never done before. Let it be the spark that pulls you back to life, because I promise you, it's not over. Not even close. The seventh regret was thinking my story was over. I used to believe that life had chapters, and after 60, maybe 65, I had reached the final one, the part where the pages get shorter, the scenes get quieter, and the lights begin to dim. I regret believing that. I regret ever letting that lie settle into my bones. Because the truth is, life doesn't end unless you close the book yourself. I still had something to say. I still had people to love. I still had mornings to wake up to, with the sun gently pressing through the curtains, whispering, "You're still here. Do something with it." So I began writing again. Not for an audience, but for myself. I wrote letters I never sent, stories I never told, thoughts I had buried deep. And as the ink filled the page, I felt something come alive. My past, my pain, my joy. It all had a voice again. If you think your story is over, it's not. Not while your hands can still hold a pen. Not while your voice can still share a memory. Not while your heart still aches for meaning. The eighth regret was not forgiving myself. I carried so much shame, quiet, invisible shame. Things I said, things I didn't say. Years I wasted. People I hurt. Moments I ignored. I regret how long I punished myself for being imperfect. We grow up thinking forgiveness is something we give others. But I've learned it's also something you have to give to yourself, or you'll never move forward. I stood in front of the mirror one night. My face looked older. My eyes were tired. And I said out loud, "You did the best you could with what you had." I said it again and again, until I believed it, and something lifted. That's what I want for you. Let go of what you can't fix. Release what can't be rewritten. You are not your worst day. You are not your biggest mistake. You're a whole story, and there's still time to make the next chapter your favorite. The 9th regret was waiting for permission. Permission to rest. Permission to dream. Permission to feel joy again. I waited for someone to say, "You've earned it." I waited for the perfect time, but no one came, and time just kept passing. I wish I had known that you don't need permission to enjoy your life. You just need to say yes to it. So I started giving myself permission to nap in the middle of the day, to dance in the kitchen, to say no to things that drained me, to say yes to things that scared me, to buy the good wine, to cry when I needed to laugh when nothing made sense. You don't need to wait anymore. This is your life, right now, not someday. The 10th regret wasn't telling people what they meant to me. We think they know. We assume they feel it. But the words we don't say are often the ones that haunt us most. I regret every "I love you" I held back. Every "thank you" I didn't say. Every "I'm proud of you" I thought, but never spoke. Because now, some of those people are gone, and I don't get another chance. You still do. Call someone today. Send the message. Say what you've been meaning to say. For a year or a decade. Don't wait. Don't assume. Don't hold it in. Words can heal. Words can save. Words can keep people going when they're about to give up. You have no idea how much your voice might mean to someone else until you use it. The 11th regret was forgetting how to celebrate. I got so focused on what was missing, what was wrong, what was aching, what was slipping away, that I forgot to celebrate what still was. I stopped marking little wins. I stopped lighting candles. I stopped buying flowers. I stopped clapping for myself. And slowly, life lost its flavor. Until one day, I saw a little boy in the park jump off a bench and yell, "I did it!" after tying his shoes. And I thought, why did I stop doing that? So now I do. When I go for a walk, I say, "Look at you, still moving." When I cook a meal, I say, "Look at you, still nourishing." When I make it through a hard day, I whisper, "You did it." Celebrate everything. Because everything is worth celebrating, especially you. And the final regret, the one that cuts the deepest, I regret not realizing sooner that being alive is enough. I spent years thinking I needed to be doing more, proving more, becoming more. But now I see it clearly. If your heart still beats, if you can still see the sunrise, if you can still listen to music, smell the rain, feel warmth on your skin, you already have something sacred. You're here. That's the miracle. That's the reason. You don't have to earn it. You just have to live it. So if you've made it this far in the video, let me say what I wish someone had said to me. You matter. You are not too late. You are not too broken. You are not done. You are still becoming. You are still capable. You are still enough. So don't leave this video and go back to sleepwalking through your days. Wake up. Stretch. Move. Call someone. Write something. Laugh out loud. Say what you mean. Dance with your shadow. Sing in the car. Be a little weird. Be beautifully, unapologetically alive. And if this spoke to you, comment below. Say, "I'm still here." Say, "That was me." Say, "I'm ready." Because I promise you, this chapter isn't over. And the next one, it's going to be your best. But only if you start writing it today.